Mission 5, start!
Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoteric and our continuing series Metal Slug Madness, where I review every single mainline Metal Slug game and talk about the series' evolution. And today we're taking a look at Metal Slug 6, the first game in the series that was not developed for the Neo Geo, AES, and MVS hardware. This is made by Noise Factory. It's on the Sammy Atomiswave, which is basically just a Dreamcast with a JAMMA edge. Before we get too far involved, if you do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like, subscribe, and that notification bell. It definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined to want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. But for me, Metal Slug 6 is a return to form. Metal Slug 4 was terrible, Metal Slug 5 was decent, Metal Slug 6 is the type of Metal Slug game I want to play, and I do like that they've done different things with the formula, and we do have more power than the Neo Geo, AES, and MVS were able to provide to us. But you will see that it does look different, and that's because obviously the Sammy Atomiswave, being Dreamcast, does not have the same graphical look across the board as something like the MVS would. But all the classic sprites are back, and all the charm, personality, and action is also returned to form. I will say that the first stage can lack a little bit of inspiration, you know, those trees in the background looking like Africa. It's not the best look, but when this gigantic centipede train comes by, that's the charm and personality and sense of humor that I want in my Metal Slug games. And that's what was missing a lot in 4, and in some ways 5. This is the return to form I'm talking about when I say, you know, the evolution of the series and it getting back to its roots. Metal Slug 6 has all the things that I love out of a Metal Slug game, like giant centipede trains. I mean, that's creative. You have to actually think about that when you're thinking about what I want to do for a new boss design. What about a centipede? We've done crabs, we've done kind of aquatic monsters. What about bugs? And that's where you get something like that. But moving on into this rock formation here, I do miss all of the traditional background 2D artwork from the Neo Geo, AES, and MVS, but the Dreamcast has its own look, and it definitely does a good job of being charming. And it's not even really a fair critique to say that I don't like the difference in visuals, because of course this is different hardware, so it is going to look slightly different, but at least it feels like a Metal Slug game, and that is absolutely great and what I'm looking for. And the boss battles are quite good too. Not all of them live up to the insane boss battles of the original 4 games, but no single boss battle is what I would describe as bad. But they have added different mechanics to this game that I think do evolve the series really well. For one, each character has its own different special attributes. Some may have a more powerful shot, some may be able to throw bombs in different directions, but you can also holster the special weapons that you're given and take them out at a later point in time. So there is a little bit more strategy, because sometimes in the original Metal Slug games, you would get a super machine gun and you would have nothing but scrub enemies around, and you'd have to waste that ammunition just to get further on in the game, and inevitably you would run out of it when you got to somebody you would want to use it for. But this game, because it is a different platform, I don't know if they were trying to make more money off it, but when you do get something like the heavy machine gun or the laser beam, you'll see at the top left hand corner the ammo count is highly reduced compared to the original games. And I think this was down to them maybe wanting to make a little bit more money. But I love these characters that jump in with these giant cleavers just trying to cut you in half. It's got charm, it's got personality, it's got a lot of the things that I want in a Metal Slug game, and they finally got back around to making enemies and characters and settings that felt like they belonged in the Metal Slug universe after having a terrible 4 and a decent 5. They finally got back to where they needed to be with 6. And you'll see here as we go up this hill, it's just fun. I love playing this game, and now the aliens are back. They showed up in 3, and then the 4 and 5 were just like, aliens what? Who? And they just completely basically remove them from the game, and that is such a disappointment. But as good as this game looks and as good as it plays, a lot of the same awesome soundtrack is back as well. So go ahead and listen for like 30 to 45 seconds like I usually give you to do, and I'll be back and tell you more about why Metal Slug 6 is a return to form. And also you get a burrow slug. That's fun. Enjoy. It's exactly the type of music you want in a Metal Slug game, and I love how they lay out the enemy patterns as well. You get these stationary screens, and they're just dropping aliens and UFOs on us left, right, and center. And when you're playing the game well, when you're slashing them all apart, when you're shooting those UFOs, it feels great. Running down the line and getting all 6 aliens at once is a fun time. Like I mentioned earlier, the epic boss battles are back, and what I appreciate about this Metal Slug game versus the rest is it does have scaling. The screen is going to zoom in and out and give you a sense of scale. But as we're gliding down the hill here on this giant, basically land train with treads, it's an awesome boss battle. We have to manage all these rockets coming out while shooting the main part of the cannon, and we have to destroy them as well before we can move on to the secondary stage of the fight. And I will say that the boss fights can be quite long, but they're always fun. You'll see here we've destroyed the first part of the boss, but we have to go through, of course, his second evolution. This gigantic rocket launcher comes out. All of these bullets are spraying around. The screen zooms out, and then this rocket is going to slowly come down and blow up, and we need to avoid the blast. That's good boss battle. That is the type of boss battle you would expect out of a Metal Slug game. 4 never delivered it, 5 delivered it decently, 6 brings it with the exact intensity that you would want out of one of these games. You'll see here, as we blow that up, we get a little bit more detail, we get some more story, a little cutscene. We have General Morden up there and he's hanging out with his alien friends, but suddenly something's going to fly in outside of the screen, these other bug-like aliens, and they're just going to eat the brains out of the aliens, and you get this chewing sound, and it cuts to an even bigger story arc where you're going to see everything is being invaded. All of the brains are getting eaten. It's weird, it's strange, it's charming, it's Metal Slug, and that's what we want when we play a Metal Slug game, and I'm so glad it's being delivered in Metal Slug 6. And you can definitely tell Noise Factory took a lot of inspiration from the original games for 6 because this kind of Chinese or Hong Kong looking background was incorporated in those original games. But again, we have a fun and new enemy to fight, these giant toad-headed looking monsters. They blow up with all this purple goo everywhere. They come in spinning. They're a harder enemy to have to deal with. We're getting new characters, and I love that. We're getting new aspects to the franchise that are a lot of fun and should be commended for doing a great job. Now we have the Zangoku sword that'll stop enemy projectiles, but honestly they give it to you in such strange places that it doesn't really matter that much. It's not one of the best new weapons. If they were going to create a new weapon for the franchise, I wish they had done something slightly different. But again, we're running up this bamboo, structure here. It feels very Hong Kong, very China. It is just a lot of charm. Now it can be a little drab in spots. It's still definitely not as colorful as the original Metal Slug games, but I like that the crabs are back. We have that crab component that is integral to a Metal Slug experience. So yeah, Metal Slug 6, I give it a thumbs up. It's a ton of fun. It calls back to some of the previous games in the franchise. The boss battles are great. The charm and sense of humor are back. It does look different because it's on a different platform, but I can 100% deal with that because I get it. Time moves on, and not every single Metal Slug game can be on the Neo Geo. If you've never played a Metal Slug game before, should you start with 6? I'll leave that up to you. It's not a bad place to start, especially if you want the more modern Metal Slug experience, and I love that those aliens pick us up into the sky and basically dissolve our entire body, turning us almost into like a mandrake root. It's fun, it's charming, it's what I want out of Metal Slug. We have a couple more games coming up though. By a couple, I mean one. Metal Slug 7, the last game in the mainline franchise, will be next week, and then we're moving on to something completely different. But do us a huge favor, go down below, hit like, subscribe, and that notification bell definitely helps us out, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.